Picture yourself under the stage lights. Oiled skin, veins running down your arms like rivers on a map. The crowd goes quiet as the judges call your number first, and for one moment you are the most looked at body in the room. That image sells billions of dollars in supplements, gym memberships, and online coaching every year. Here's what actually gets a person to that stage, and what it costs them on the way. Bodybuilding isn't one sport wearing one pair of posing trunks. It's several, stacked on top of each other. At the bottom sits natural bodybuilding, tested, drug-free, smaller shows, smaller crowds, smaller prizes. Above that is the world almost everyone pictures when they hear the word bodybuilder. Open, untested competition, where in the United States you start in something called the NPC, the amateur federation nearly every serious competitor comes up through. Win or place high enough at the right NPC show, and you're awarded a pro card, your ticket into the IFBB Pro League, the top tier, the one that ends at Mr. Olympia. What does a pro card actually get you? Mostly it gets you the right to lose money on a bigger stage against better competition. That's not a joke. That's the honest starting point for almost everyone who earns one. So, what does it actually take to start? Age isn't the barrier. You can begin any time as an adult. Money and time are the real barriers. Most people who go on to compete seriously spend 3 to 5 years just building a base of muscle and training discipline before their first show is even worth entering. That first show alone will cost $2,000 to $5,000 once you add it up. The annual federation card. Entry fees running $125 to $250 per class. A contest prep coach for the final months, $200 to $500 a month. A custom posing suit, professional spray tan. And the extra groceries a real muscle building phase demands, easily $100 to $150 a week, on top of your normal budget. And that's one show. Most competitors enter several a year, because judges want to see a resume, not a single good night. How long does it take to become a professional bodybuilder? Realistically, 5 to 10 years from your very first workout to a legitimate shot at placing top 3 at a regional show. Getting from a regional podium to an actual pro card takes most people several years beyond that, if it happens at all. Across the entire NPC system in the US, somewhere around 800 to 1,000 pro cards get awarded in a typical year. That number sounds generous until you learn what people inside the sport will tell you plainly. Only a small fraction of those new pros ever actually step onto a professional stage. Most earn the card, take the photo, and stop. Because turning pro means walking straight into competition with people who've been doing this for 15 years and have the physiques to prove it. How much do bodybuilders actually make? This is the number people get wrong more than any other, because the sport is built around showing you the exception, not the average. A men's open pro show now guarantees a minimum of $15,000 to the winner and $9,000 to second place, a real increase from a few years ago, and worth saying plainly because it used to be worse. But most shows only pay 2 or 3 places, out of a field that can run 20 or 30 competitors deep. Place 4th, and you go home with a trophy and a bill for your flight. Now the outlier, because outliers are the entire reason people believe this pays well. Phil Heath made close to $3 million across a 14-year pro career, an average of roughly $200,000 a year. But that's a 7-time Mr. Olympia champion, one of maybe 5 men alive who've ever earned that kind of money from this sport. Derek Lunsford, the reigning Olympia champion as of this recording, took home $600,000 for winning the Olympia and a further $750,000 for winning the Arnold Classic in the same year, the single biggest year any bodybuilder has ever had. That's the ceiling. It is not the floor, and it is nowhere near the median. The median pro, the name you've never heard, and there are hundreds of them, spends more on coaching, food, travel, and drugs than they win back in prize money most years, and covers the gap with a day job, a handful of sponsorship products, or online coaching clients paid for by the following they built getting there. What are the real odds, and what is actually being risked to chase them? This is where bodybuilding stops looking like other sports. A recent medical study followed more than 20,000 competitive bodybuilders for an average of 8 years and found that professional-level competitors had roughly 5 times the overall death rate of amateur competitors and 16 times the rate of sudden cardiac death, their hearts simply stopping, almost always in men still young enough to be competing. The average age of a professional bodybuilder who died of sudden cardiac death while actively competing was under 35. Why does the risk jump so sharply at the professional tier specifically? Because reaching that level of size and conditioning is, According to the researchers and competitors who've spoken about it publicly, close to impossible without anabolic steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs, taken in combinations and doses far beyond anything a doctor would ever prescribe. Those drugs are tied to enlarged hearts, dangerously high blood pressure, blood clots, and stroke. The diuretics used to strip water from the body in the final days before a show have killed competitors outright through electrolyte imbalance. Roughly a third of long-term users go on to develop dependence on the drugs themselves, separate from any physical damage. None of this is rumor or scare talk. It's published medical research, and it's the same arithmetic every competitor chasing the pro stage eventually has to face, whether they say so publicly or not. Here are two people who started at the exact same gym, the exact same year, both 24 years old. The first chases the Open Pro card. He trains for 6 years, wins a regional pro card at 30, and decides to compete at the professional level to chase the dream all the way. Over the next 4 years, he tours pro shows, placing 6th, 8th, 12th, respectable, invisible. He spends $40,000 to $50,000 of his own money on coaching and prep across those years, and does what it takes at that level to stay competitive. By 35, he's stepped back from competing, partly for health reasons his doctor raised, partly because the money simply never arrived, carrying long-term cardiovascular and hormonal costs from a decade spent pushing his body past what it was built to sustain. The second person, same gym, similar genetics, competes in a natural, tested federation instead. He never sets foot on a pro stage and never wins $1 from a trophy, but he builds a genuinely impressive physique over that same decade, competes in a handful of regional shows because he loves it, and turns the process into an online coaching business that quietly clears around $60,000 a year, more than most actual pros ever see from competing at all. Same dream at 24, very different decade. So, who is this actually for? It's for people who love the daily process of building a body more than the idea of being crowned for it, because for nearly everyone, the process is the entire return you'll ever collect. It's for people who can genuinely afford years of coaching, travel, and contest fees as a hobby, not as money they expect to see again. Do you have to take steroids to compete at the top level? Realistically, yes, if the goal is the Open Pro stage specifically. Natural federations exist and are a real, healthier alternative, but they lead somewhere different than Mr. Olympia. This is not for anyone chasing it as a path to real income. The math simply does not support that outcome for all but a handful of names you probably already know. And if the Open Pro level is genuinely the goal, this is not for anyone unwilling to have an honest conversation with a cardiologist about what they're doing to their own heart to get there, because the research is now clear about exactly who carries that risk, and it's disproportionately the people who make it furthest. So picture that stage again. The lights. The number called first. For the handful who get there and keep winning, it is real, and it is genuinely extraordinary. For almost everyone else who spends a decade chasing it, the number never gets called, the money never quite balances, and the body carries the bill either way. That's not a reason not to start, it's just what you're actually signing up for.